Welcome back to another episode on the Gold Room podcast. Today, lucky enough to have Scott North coming in as a subject matter expert.
Just realised that this stuff is real. No one has just really thought about doing it in this way. So now I feel like I've got Willy Wonka's golden ticket. I just need to convince a few lucky people to come along for the ride. We get 10 million, it'll be the second or the third largest pre-seed raise in Australian history. What we're really good at in Australia is mining, yet we're not backing those companies. This is something I bang the table about every single day of the week. Just so surreal. I was in rooms that had massive chandeliers, that had like 40 people. It literally looked like, you know, those UN conferences where they've all got their mic in front of them and everything like that. I was at one of those tables talking about how do you change the kingdom's exploration policy. Anyway, we won't get political here.
No. That's what I always say. That's what I said to you, mate. No politics, no religion, and no bad quarterly reports. Welcome back to another episode on the Gold Room podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today, lucky enough to have Scott North coming in as a subject matter expert. I know you, before we came on, you said, I don't know about that. But, mate, you've done a lot of things in your short 36 years that people could only hope to achieve. But we're going to get into all of that. How we always start every episode is with the life and the times, mate. So take me back to the early years and we can go from there.
Yeah, no worries, mate. And look, I've been thinking about this a lot and looking at a couple of other podcasts you've done. And one of the ones I really looked at was when you did Alex Herrera, and you know, he's a mate of mine. So my life and times is not going to be anything like
You're not a rugby player, mate?
No, look, okay. I wasn't playing for the Western Force, so I'm not as handsome and as...
Hey, you're all right, mate. You're all right. Give yourself some credit. You got a bloody good haircut.
Yeah. So, but look, I was really thinking about how my career is kind of shaped and the things that I was interested in as maybe a child and what I ended up doing. And two things really stood out for me. When I was... maybe 3 or 4, my pop, my mum's dad lived in a place called Botany, and Botany is kind of comparable to Fremantle. It's, it's where the airport is, and it's where all the shipping ports were. And I got really obsessed with all the trucks and the big machines and everything around that. And we'll get back to why that's important. But the other part of it was, I remember when I was like 3 or 4 in my backyard, like literally digging up the ground and walking over and pressing a button and pretending I'm going down an elevator. So like I was digging a mine.
Where do you reckon you saw that? It had to come from somewhere, right?
No, yeah, but I was doing these things, right? And I was thinking about, when people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up and things like that, and you go back and you're trying to actually think about it. So they're the two things that actually stood out for me. Now, fast forward quite a few years, I dropped out end of year 10, I absolutely sucked at school, become a plumber for like 3 years.
So completed your trade?
No, I didn't.
Oh, bro, so close.
Yeah, but I'm happy about it.
Yeah, okay.
My grandfather was a plumber, my 2 uncles were plumbers, and that's kind of why I did it, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did 3 years and then, just left and then moved into freight forwarding and logistics.
All right.
But that's when the shipping containers and the big cranes really started to interest me again. And getting a job actually at the wharves is actually quite hard. And so I tried to do whatever I could to try and get one.
Is it like one of those oil and gas type situations where someone's got to die?
Exactly. Exactly. But I didn't want to be the waterfront's very unionised, right? So I didn't want to be kind of on the wharves. I want to be in a management role. So I did whatever I could to try and get a role. I ended up moving. This first time I moved to Perth. So I was 22, still living at home. I remember telling my mum, I just got a job in Perth. I'm moving there in 2 weeks, and she just started bursting out in tears. So I did that.
Loves their son, eh?
Yeah.
Are you the only boy?
Only boy. I got a sister.
Yeah.
Look, we didn't have the best relationship back then. I think moving away, our relationship got better. But so I was able to then achieve that, and I was able to work, around Australia for this company. But moving to Perth for the first time, this place is mining, right? So no matter who you speak to, even if they're not working in mining, they have a friend in mining or they're investing in mining. Like it is so much different on the East Coast. You mention mining in Sydney, no one knows what you're even talking about. So, a few things have happened. I worked around, Australia and moved across a few different places. But I also had that entrepreneurial spirit from, through school and stuff like that. So after leaving the wharfs, I was in a few startups, was head of operations type roles, but I still thinking about mining in the background and started investing in mining and just it really piqued my interest. And then I was in Perth, ended up having a couple of cafes, I think I was telling you before, up in the hills in Kalamunda. But that it's hard work. Hospitality is hard work.
Yeah.
So
early mornings.
Yeah.
Getting the coffee wrong.
Yeah. 7 days a week. So one of my customers who become a friend was quite high up at Parenti. And he's like, "Oh, we've got this
Relatively good company.
Yeah, it was Ausdrill back then, but then changed Parenti. We've got this logistics role coming up. Would you be interested in applying?" So I went in and applied. And that's what really started getting my interest in the industry. Like, who are we sending these rigs to? Why are we sending the rigs there? What's this industry really about? And particularly the exploration industry. So that was probably, 10 years ago. And I think I've spent every weekend, every waking moment since then. That has been my hobby and my passion, like a real sick passion, learning about this industry. And I built up, relationships globally because of that.
Amazing.
And then fast forward, quite a few years from then, I was investing.
Have you had some big wins?
Yeah, so
10 baggers, 100 baggers. Are you allowed to tell me?
No, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
so I guess my biggest win was Adriatic.
Adriatic Resources.
Adriatic Metals.
Metals, that's it.
Yeah. And Bosnia.
That's it, yeah. I actually know a mining engineer that used to work there.
Yeah, so I bought that on the first drill hole. And, I owe Paul Cronin a lot from that. I have a puppy at home or a dog at home. It's called Addy.
Really?
Literally after
Named
Adriatic.
Awesome.
So that stock literally changed my life. And then that just propelled on my interest in the industry. And then I got to a point where I was, talking to CEOs and everything like that, almost doing work for free. And then a guy named Fabian Baker, I showed the interest and I showed, my skill set and everything like that. He took me on as a corporate development manager, and that was a couple of years ago now. And that actually kind of solidified my opportunity in the industry. And me and Fabian now really good mates. We see the industry the same way. So I started working at a company called Kings Rose. I am still quite a big shareholder in that company. And that was my first,
Foray.
and foot in the door in the industry officially. Like I've been around it for quite a long time, but that's officially, And then fast forward, 2 or 3 years from that point, I was, getting interest from other companies and things like that, but I can't entertain those interests when I was working full time. So I ended up leaving and spinning out my own advisory business. So that advisory business is Kamoa. And essentially what we do is everything in the corporate development world, from, vending projects to IR to BD, to helping with introductions, but we don't raise capital. One, because the brokers are all my friends and I don't want to piss them off. But also I don't want an AFSL too, because that's just too much headache.
Yeah.
So that's one business, but what that actually led into is what we're working on now. And
Yeti Ventures.
Yeah, so Yeti Ventures, I truly believe our industry is, at this precipice where there's change that can be happen. And I don't want to just work for a normal company. I don't want to be building a normal company. I actually want to be part of something that can change our industry globally. And
beautiful.
my business partner now in Yeti, Ahmad, we started talking probably 8, 7 months ago, and he brought me this opportunity, and I just basically called bullshit. I was like, this can't be true. Like, why isn't anyone doing anything like this? And when you delve into what we're trying to build, it's just our industry not wanting to be first. And this is
Or just being stuck in the ways of traditional mining. Would you agree? Like, I mean, let's go into Yeti Ventures. Let's get into the problem with traditional exploration.
Yeah.
But look, it's obviously working, right?
Yeah.
What's currently been done for the last 100 years plus, you know? It's working. It's working really well. There's a lot of happy bloody investors. There's a lot of happy stakeholders. There's a lot of happy people working in the industry. So it's working.
Yeah.
What do you think that you can do differently?
I think there's an opportunity to optimize what we're doing. I think there's an opportunity to unlock a lot of things that others can't. So essentially what we're doing at Yeti is we're marrying a lot of technology that exists or is on the movement to exist, and taking it from oil and gas and other places, and then putting that into a technology stack, we're calling it, and using that technology stack to then enable us to then go and explore. Now, it's not a AI type of company. There's plenty of them out there. It's actually marrying hardware and software and machine learning and all these types of things, because we believe if you actually want to change exploration, you have to change the unit economics.
Go into that. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Changing unit economics.
Yeah. So one of the biggest and probably the biggest cost lever in exploration is drilling, right? Drilling really hasn't changed in 50 years. You got Aussie.
Autonomous.
There's
autonomous drill rigs now. Up north, they're using them.
Yeah. In pits, or is that for exploration?
In pits. But surely, why can't they, if they're doing it in pits, why can't they do it in exploration?
Yeah, exactly. Why?
Do you really need people banging down on the levers? Do you need people running bags? I see some of the technology. You must see some of the technology, right?
Yeah. So the perfect example of the running the bags using the muds, right? Technology literally exists right now. It is commercial. That is like a coffee dispenser.
I've seen it.
Yeah. It exists. And why isn't everyone in the world using this? Why are they using, offsiders to put the drilling additives down the holes?
Is it because it's cheaper to employ labor than it's not?
No way.
I wonder if you could get like a conveyor belt system and some sort of bloody, how they're loading cans and into boxes with little robot arms. I wonder if you can be doing that with core samples and running it through that core X-ray machine right out on bloody site.
So they do that now.
No, they don't.
Yeah, you can do core underneath on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I know they do, but can they be doing it straight out of after they're pulling core samples?
Yeah. Yeah,
Really?
you can do that. Yeah.
Realise.
Yeah. So once again, this industry is like, this is all, this is the way we've always done it.
Yep.
Right. And because our industry is so, public facing, because we are listed, most of the companies are listed, right? They have to be appeasing the investors all the time. So for someone to take a risk on something else, and have the backlash of the public is an absolute massive deal.
Scott, building Yeti Ventures.
Mm-hmm.
What was the moment? When was the moment? Like obviously you said you and Ahmed sat down together and he told you some things but what was that conversation? What was the moment where you were like, oh wow?
Yeah.
If as your words were, surely someone's done it, or I can't believe this hasn't been done.
Yeah. So, we met in Perth, and I remember I think it was a conference weekend or a conference week, and I went back and spent the next couple of days, I think on the weekend, literally going through websites and reports and everything like that, and just realized that this stuff is real. No one has just really thought about doing it in this way.
Yep.
And that was 6-7 months ago, right? So now I feel like I've got Willy Wonka's golden ticket. I just need to convince a few lucky people to come along for the ride with us as we build this company. So, at the moment we're trying to raise capital, and
how's that going?
Yeah,
It's a tough road.
Yeah, look, it's because we're not public, and because our industry is mainly public companies, right? So even a fund or a very high net worth, they love liquidity. If it doesn't have liquidity, it is very hard to get them across the line. So we're essentially pitching to VCs, and not just Australia but worldwide. So we went into this journey just probably 2 weeks before Christmas, probably worst time to start, but we had to because of a few things. So VCs that invest in mining, there's very few. There's starting to be more because of what's happening in the world. But the journalists, we're having to then educate them of how the industry works also. So look, I'm very confident we're going to get there. But we're raising a significant amount of money for where we actually are in the journey. But if we can get that off the ground, I have no doubt that what we're building will just skyrocket from there.
Is it something you can do can you do like a small little quiet trial? No?
No. So, no, I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, because you literally need to build out teams and acquire technology and stuff like that. So
okay, so you're going to be integrating hardware, software,
teams. Like when we start off,
how much do you need?
Yeah, so minimum of 5 million.
Okay.
So we're raising minimum of 5 million.
5 million seems doable.
Yeah, but not in the VC early stage world. So literally, we're raising. We hope to get 10. If we get 10 million, it'll be the second or the third largest pre-seed raise in Australian history.
Wow.
So that's including all tech businesses and everything like that. So that's really good for the mining industry, because if you look at the mining industry that the VC companies back, hardly any. And it absolutely blows my mind. What we're really good at in Australia is mining, right?
Yeah, we're great at it.
Yeah, yet we're not backing those companies. So this is something I bang the table about every single day of the week. Do what we're good at, back what we're good at, because we can then, be like other countries and live off that. So yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know in a month.
Okay, mate. The Saudi. This is the reason you're here. I want to go over the. I've been following your trip. The Saudi Arabia conference.
Yeah.
Let's firstly.
Yeah.
How did you bloody get there? How were you invited, or who did you bloody pinch a ticket from? What happened?
Yeah. So it all started off with and I think why I'm doing what I'm doing right now is literally from social media and LinkedIn. Probably going back to the start of last year, just some background. I decided to post on LinkedIn once a day, just share my thoughts about our industry. And what that has now become is just has literally changed my life.
Yeah.
But
I'm every time I open up LinkedIn and you've written something, I'll sit there and read it.
Yeah. So
and I'm, I've certainly changed from reading the newspaper to watching my content.
Yeah.
You know,
it's building I've really realized now building a personal brand is such a big thing.
Yeah.
But what that's actually led to is it's just opened up a lot of doors, and one of those doors is Saudi Arabia. So a few people within the government and within the people that organise the conference actually asked me to go over there. And
someone in the government asked you to go over there?
Yeah, links to the government, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
you're doing the right thing, mate. You're pulling the right levers. You're doing something right. Far out. That's awesome. No one fucking invited me to Saudi Arabia.
So I was lucky enough to speak on a few public panels about the industry, exploration, technology, but then also was able to. It was just so surreal. I was in rooms that had massive chandeliers that had like 40 people. It literally looked like, those UN conferences where they've all got their mic in front of them and everything like that. I was at one of those tables talking about how do you change the kingdom's exploration policy and how do you change their stock market, or how can you implement a stock market in Saudi Arabia for the exploration industry. So just like going back 12 months and then where I was then was just mind blowing. But also it's just, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So I'm running as hard as I can at it.
Yeah.
But
Saudi Arabia's an exciting opportunity. I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with someone who said it may be the next expat Africa opportunity for Australians.
Yeah.
Like there are heaps of Australians already there in Saudi.
Yeah.
Look at what Mrs. Reinhardt
Yep.
has just done with her joint venture.
Yep.
I think that's really promising. And that if she's jumped in, who's going to be next?
Yeah. So I think what I did learn over there is they want to work with, they need support, and they make that very public. And I really think they would love to work with Aussies. You just have to look at globally Aussie companies and production rates and how we work. So that's the big opportunity in the kingdom. I think what a lot of people get wrong is people go over there and think, oh, I've got an exploration project in Australia. Can I get the kingdom or rich people in the kingdom to then fund my exploration project in Australia? That's not going to happen. Right now, it's like, how can they build out their whole ecosystem?
Awesome.
And how can you, Australians, go and support them? So if you're willing to go over there and if you're willing to build a business, not just mining, but I feel like it's, what Dubai looks like and things like that. That's what they're trying to build from from an infrastructure point of view. So they're richer than all those countries combined, right?
Mm.
So they have the capital and the willingness to actually do that. And it actually starts from the very top. And this is something I think even Australia needs to look at. They have mineral resources, right?
Great company.
So they...
But I understand what you mean. You mean actual mineral
yeah,
resources.
So they've actually put mining as like a pillar of their economy, and there's three, and it's one of those three.
Amazing.
And the people actually dictating that are people that have worked in the mining companies and actually dictated policy. So that's something Australia should really think about. But anyway, we won't get political here.
No. That's what I always say. That's what I said to you, mate. No politics, no religion, and no bad quarterly reports. Mate, Saudi Arabia's approach to discovery.
Yeah.
So what are they doing?
So they're drilling shit out of everything.
How many million meters did you say?
Yeah. So 2 or 3 million meters, I think they're quoting on the next couple of years. So
wow.
And that's just one company.
So what's the company?
Yeah, it's
what is the company called?
Martin. Martin's the government company basically. And if you look at who owns all the mines there, Martin is the owner of most of the mines. Okay. I think it's
What about obviously, so is the joint venture between Hancock Iron and Martin? Is that what they've done? Okay.
Yeah. But
so what about other companies that wanted to do a joint venture or look at a joint venture with another?
It's very open. So they're very open to working together with other companies.
Amazing.
It depends on
what you offer, what you can offer.
What you offer, and then also the stage of the projects. They more want projects to go from discovery to mines, right? Because most things they've only got a handful of mines, but they're massive mines.
Mainly open pit though, right? No underground?
No.
Why no underground?
Because
no.
Well, imagine WA 90 years ago, right? You pick up what you can find on the ground straight away,
Right.
and that's what you mine. Then you go underground.
Yep.
That's where they're at. So
Wow.
it's literally the new frontier. That's why exploration drilling, early stage exploration drilling, is literally 70 or 80% of their drills.
Wow.
So they're looking for things where we're like 20%.
Imagine them funding some processing plants.
Well,
Obviously, you know, like the long way to go, but imagine taking our hard rock mining, underground mining over there.
exactly.
Imagine all the amazing people. We need to get Barry Upton and Rob Humphreys to go over there and set up a little bloody company.
Well, I saw so Australia had a booth there. If we're talking about underground mining, so we had Burncart and we had Parenti.
Oh, wow, awesome.
They had stores there, and they had a few others there. But look, at the end of the day, I think it's still early stages, but they want to move fast. They want actual mines producing tomorrow. Yep. But also, it's not about just mining for them, because there's still questions about the geology. Not everyone's fully sold on the geology yet.
Okay.
But that's fine, because they want to be processing it. They want to have innovation hubs. They already have innovation hubs. They want to do the end-to-end. What's
their safety? What's their policy structure like? You know, what are they doing to protect the people that are their own countrymen?
Yeah,
you know, obviously we've got it dialed in here, and sometimes it can be, I don't want to say a hindrance, but you know, like there's a lot of bloody red tape over here. Are they trying to push things? They'll be trying to push things through. Is it going to be safe? Yes. Are we going to be sending people over there, and they're going to be in safe, capable hands?
So I think, actual operating mines, the people that are actually like the heads of the mines or the heads of the companies are not locals. They're internationals. So okay. I met with a Aussie who's I forget his name, but he's opened up 4 underground mines over there. The Martin CEO is a US guy.
Okay.
So they're not afraid to lean on expats to come over there and run the companies for them. They literally just want it to move forward for their country.
Awesome.
So that's the opportunity, right? So but you also need to find the right partners and things like that too. But also they're very much, you have to go there and meet people. It's old school, you'd call it.
That's the way the Chinese still like to do business today.
Yeah.
You know, they want to take you out for a succulent Chinese meal before discussing business.
Yeah. But the difference is you get really, really pissed with the Chinese. You can't even drink there. So that's,
of course, that's huge.
But for expats, they've just opened it.
Really?
Just.
Dangerous. Yeah. Dangerous. You wouldn't want to get caught doing the wrong thing over there, that's for sure. So let's go into the Australian-Saudi alignment.
Yeah.
Where do you see, so currently what's happening? Where are we at in 12 months' time?
Yeah, so I think, I don't think there's going to be, on a government-to-government level, I don't think there will be much there. And I don't think the Australian government can really play much of a part there, because they actually need the skill set, right? So where I see the alignment being is Aussies setting up companies there or joint ventures there, but then also they need their skills. So there's opportunities for their people to actually come and work in Australia in exploration crews, on drill crews, in mining. So that's where the government can actually play a part in the visas and stuff like that. Come here for 3 months, come here for 6 months to learn how we do it from a high level and then take that back to the kingdom. So that's where I see the opportunity. And I'm working with a few different groups now to kind of help set up those alignments, non-profit organisations, that type of stuff.
Kind of like AMEG, but for Australia, Saudi.
Yeah, exactly. So the one I'm working with is called ASMA. So we're just starting that to, introductions on both sides, opening up, from an investment point of view, but then also opening up from a government point of view. And then even if you're a new company, like how do you set up a company? What lawyers do you need to talk to? Because I know from my experience when I've gone into new countries and stuff like that, you never know. Yeah, who can you trust? Who can't you trust? That's the nuances that really hinder businesses entering new countries. So I think if a few people and a few organisations can set that up, that really streamlines the process.
Let's get into capital, seed, and scale for a business, in, let's say an Australian drilling company. That what do they need to do to get into Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I think the easiest pathway there is looking at existing operations or existing companies that might be, let's say they deliver or they provide trucks or something to a mine, but they want drilling. So you come in and then partner with them, right? But you need to also bring capital. So yes, there's this perception that the kingdom is rich, and they are.
Exceptionally.
Yeah, but you still need to bring something also, not just knowledge. You still need to bring capital. So
Capital in the form of, how about we build the rigs.
yeah,
We'll bring all the heavy equipment.
Yeah.
We'll bring the knowledge. We'll bring the team, and they'll fund the wages while they're there. Or
I look, commercially, I think there's many ways of doing it. But what the whole premise is they know that they need help, and they have made that very clear.
Awesome. Was that a big key takeaway?
Yeah, that is probably one of the biggest keys. A couple of biggest keys are they need help. They've made that very clear, and they want to work with partners. They're not afraid to.
What's the US doing? Are the US jumping at it? What's China doing?
Well,
what's the relationship between China and Saudi?
So the only comment I would say that I heard from people in the kingdom is that they're friends with everyone.
Amazing. That's the best way to be, right?
That's the comment that they said, and they said we're friends with China, we're friends with the US, we're friends with Australia. That's what they said.
Yep. Sweden.
Yeah. So they made that clear. I didn't, on the ground, I didn't see many Chinese people. But who knows what happens? It's not like Africa. Africa comes in, they build your roads, they build everything, and then they give you the debt, and you owe them the world.
Yep.
They don't need to do that.
No, they don't.
No. So they can't have you by the balls, essentially.
Mate, what do you know about the Gina Reinhardt angle?
Yeah, so I guess we shouldn't look too much into it. I think we need to just look at it of the lens of there's an opportunity there. Gina is thinking high level of what that opportunity is. Martin is the partner. If you want to partner with anyone, Martin is the person or the company you want to partner with. But there's plenty of Aussie companies over there. And, for example, IGO's over there. Not many people even know that IGO's there.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So they've gone from 6 exploration companies in 2020 to 240 in 2025.
All under Martin?
No, not under Martin. All individual companies.
Right. Okay.
Or partnerships. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I just think Gina's part of that 220 or 240 of what it is.
So maybe is the media blowing it up because it's Gina Reinhardt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, look, that's all right. I suppose that's a bloody headline grabber, isn't it? But I
think that's good.
Josh Collins is partnered with Saudi. It doesn't really quite have the same ring to it, does it?
No. Well,
thanks, mate.
But look, there could be a bigger play here for Gina.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. And I don't want to pretend I know what that is.
Yeah, okay. So, good call. Right, here we go. This is a good one.
Yeah.
Australia's window of opportunity.
In the kingdom?
Yes.
Yeah, so as we've probably touched on about 5 times, I think the opportunity right now is using our skill set and transferring that to the kingdom.
How do we get there?
Obviously
an aeroplane, I know that, but I mean, what processes are we going? Let's say Raglan drilling, the first cab off the rank.
Yeah, so
what are they doing?
I'm personally trying to work that out myself.
Yep.
So, and that's why I was saying I'm helping setting up this organisation called ASMA to work that out. So let's say Raglan drilling comes to ASMA and says, hey, how do I do the country entry? So for them, I would say it would be maybe working with another drilling organization, or maybe, what I'm seeing over there too, a lot of the oil and gas companies want to move into minerals. So maybe it's partnering from an existing oil and gas company and saying, hey, we've got the drills, we've got the skill sets. We can apply that and use your in-country people. We can train them up. We can, and you can help us get contracts. So I think it's very naive to think you can go in there and just be yourself or set up your own your own company. You have to kind of go in there and think of a partnership.
For sure. And there's actually I did read the other day that there's some bloody awesome grants going around, like the kingdom's saying, hey, listen, come over here, bring a great idea, and set up a joint venture with some of our countrymen.
Yeah.
And there's some government grants available.
Yeah, so from an exploration point of view, I know there's grants where, like, if you spend X, they'll match it up to a certain amount.
Yep.
I know there's tax incentives for employees. They'll pay X amount, stuff like that.
The Australian dollar would be, the American dollar in your bank account would be quite nice, eh? They'd be paying expats in American dollars.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, they'd have to be.
Yeah,
That's usually what they're doing.
Okay.
Expats
but they are tax free. I know that for sure.
That's amazing.
It's tax free.
We don't want to be telling the Australian government that. Bloody hell! I'd be on your case when you come back here, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Suitcase full of cash.
But look, So I think it's very early days still, right?
Right.
It's not the Wild West, but it's not fully set up either. Like,
sounds like a lot of opportunity. Sounds like you need to go there, and I'd love to go there.
I think it's 10 or 15 years behind, say, Dubai,
right,
from an infrastructure point of view, and then from a geological point of view, I feel like it's WA 90 years ago or something like that.
Wow.
So, like, and mining services and drilling is growing 15% a year, they're estimating. So that's pretty good growth, right?
Yeah.
You just need to get in there and I think just set up. And once again, relationships. Relationships are key.
Paramount. Definitely.
And they're very traditional still too. Like, I was talking to a couple, like, having 4 wives is still very common, right? Who wants to have 4 wives?
Mate, I couldn't think of anything worse.
No, exactly. But that's still, common there, right? So there is some culture shock. You need to go there with an open mind.
Yeah.
But if you can get all past that, that's like, I think the next 2030, like, because they've got this whole 2030 thing, I think between now 2030, even because they've got the World Cup, the Soccer World Cup, Football World Cup coming up 2035 or something like that. So I think between now and 2035, it's on, like, not just for mining, but just building out that whole country.
Wow, that's amazing, mate. Actually, my last question for you was looking forward 10 years, but you've just bloody answered that, mate. So
I would say, what Dubai has on a mega scale, I think, there would be continuous mining, continually building that out. Is the geology there or not? Who knows? But we don't know.
You don't know until you bloody drill.
Exactly, but they're doing it. They're drilling as hard as they can.
At what point do you think it would become oversaturated with, if every country in the world's, not every country, but, like, let's say everyone just from Australia wants to go and start a company, set up a JV over there and
when they can't get any more work, I guess. Like, that's like.
Do you think your boots on the ground over there? Do you think the next 5-10 years, or are they just going to keep drilling and drilling?
Well,
and
it
drilling?
all depends on what they find, right?
Exactly,
it's.
Do you know much about the geological makeup of what they have currently found?
So it's mainly gold. They reckon they have some porphyries, like copper and stuff like that. Yep. And they reckon they've got, like, VMSs there too. So you're talking zinc and copper like that too. So, but once again, they're not drilling deep, right? They're only working open pits. So let's see what's underneath that sand also.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is something that they're doing really well is flying, surveys across the whole country and basically saying, no, this really has good geology from a high level. This is a mining zone. So then they, put a big circle around that so people can't actually build infrastructure there.
Okay. Awesome.
So going back to your point about what they're doing about the people and things like that, they're not allowing people to build homes like that around there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mate, did you love it over there? When have you planned to go back?
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what the next 3 to 6 months takes me. Via Yeti, via a few other things. I'll definitely go back.
When you do go back, give me a call. I'll probably be too busy, but I'd certainly love to go. I'll certainly if I've got a couple of bloody if I've got a week up my sleeve,
yeah,
I'd love to join you.
Yeah.
You show me the ropes. Go over there.
Yeah, we'll do, mate. We'll
Be
do.
amazing.
We'll do.
Look, Scotty, thank you very much for your time, mate. It's obviously you flying all the way over here. Much appreciated. It wasn't just for me. You've been out there bloody shooting your shot with other companies, which is awesome. I wish you all the luck, mate, and I can't wait to look. I'll be following the shit out of you on LinkedIn, and but I think everything you've explained to me about Yeti Ventures, I think people should get on board and throw some money your way. I wish I could throw some money your way,
mate. You're building your own empire, so I fully understand.
Oh, look, once again, mate, thank you very much for coming and spending time with me.
No, thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Not a problem.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for tuning into another episode on The Gold Room. I hope you learned something about Saudi Arabia. If you've got any questions about Saudi Arabia or how to take your drill rigs over there, your best port of call is to contact Scotty on LinkedIn. And for all those VCs out there, throw some money down the line. Get involved. All right. Thank you very much.